came to face with my abuser. As a man who was married, me, you know, in my 30s.
A tough guy.
Oh, man, done the deal.
By the way, I mean, the world's fastest disarmer, would we say?
Yeah,
disarm someone with a gun?
Yeah.
Gun disarmer.
Still hold the record.
The world's fastest.
Yeah, but I think my son, who's 20, I think he's gonna pass me at 21. But seeing my stepfather in a bed, dying, and realizing, man, I have the power to push him there faster or show God's grace. All I did was say, God, help me to forgive him.
Folks, the state of Colorado is at a crossroads, and tonight a Marine turned missionary says it's time to put faith, family, and freedom back at the center. Victor Marx is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, a high-risk missionary, and founder of All Things Possible Ministries, and he has officially launched his 2026 bid for governor of Colorado. He says the state needs courage over politics, parents over bureaucrats, and people over special interests. Take a look.
The modern world has seduced men into softness. We've traded the plow for the couch, the sword for the screen, and the truth for the lie that says you aren't enough. We've let our families drift, our churches weaken, our communities falter because we've forgotten who we were created to be. I've spent my life fighting battles most politicians here wouldn't dare face. Protecting the vulnerable, standing with law enforcement, and proving that courage can change outcomes. Colorado doesn't need another politician. It needs a man of conviction, a leader with the backbone to fight for families, restore justice, and give this state back to the people.
My name is Victor Marx.
And Victor joins us now. Victor, great stuff. Love that trailer. Hey, you've been, as people just saw, you've been in war zones, trauma zones, a leader of men. Now you're entering a different kind of war zone, politics. Why run for governor of Colorado?
The money. No. There's nothing to benefit me running. People ask me all that time. I go, there's no benefit. If anything, it's just sacrifice. Yeah. And my wife and I, we'll be married 37 years this year. We've tried to base our life making decisions on three things. Never make it based on your ego or comfort, and certainly don't make decisions based on fear. Yeah. And we feel like God clearly spoke to me. Me and her prayed about it, and we're at a make or break place in the state of Colorado where even us, like others, we just said, if things don't change, we'll probably just pack up and leave, like thousands of others has, because it's that bad.
Yeah, and talk a little bit more in detail, Victor, about the problems in Colorado. Look, the natural beauty, obviously the Rocky Mountains are there. It's a beautiful state, but major, major problems. I think of the marijuana problem.
Yep.
I mean, Colorado's kind of ground zero for that, legalization, everything else. But talk about some of the serious problems in that beautiful state.
Well, the first time we moved there was 2001. We stayed for a few years. I was an assistant to Dr. James Dobson. And then we moved away doing our work in ministry, and which was intense for a good spell. Came back in 2014. And from 2014 to now, I'm telling you, people wouldn't recognize it. Our capital and so many of the surrounding towns, they're you just get a sense of they're dirty and dangerous. Wow. Colorado leads, we're number 2 in the whole United States for most crime. And it's all centered around exactly where the leadership of Colorado is.
Look, Tren de Aragua.
Yes.
We all saw that footage last year about them ransacking apartments, bullying people, intimidating people. And the current governor, Jared Polis, the Democrat, has been very weak on the border issue and illegal immigration. Talk more about how that has affected Colorado.
Yeah, I'd say more than weak. He's been supportive of bringing in, whether he agrees or not. It's more not what you say, but what you do. So Colorado has become a sanctuary city for a lot of things. And the people of Colorado, the good people, generations, they're just sick and tired of it. And, you know, the education has dropped. Only, I think it's 34% of kids in the 4th grade can actually read well. The rest are struggling. We have 5 children. They're all adults. Few are married with kids. But just the economic situation in Colorado, the strain financially where young people can't get out and just rent an apartment or buy a house. So therefore, they're stuck with their parents in a perpetual cycle of adolescence. So there's a lot of, I think we're number 2 in mental health issues in the U.S. There's a lot going on, and some people don't want me to bring in the spiritual aspect, but my faith is a very important part. And I definitely see there's a spiritual component.
Oh, yeah.
The gubernatorial candidate, one of the 2 leads for the Democrats, within 2 weeks of me announcing, they haven't attacked any of the other Republicans. They came after me and said, and it was Bennett that said it, he's a senator. He's like, hey, this guy says there's spiritual warfare involved in Colorado. Because there is.
Amen.
You know, you bonehead.
Yeah.
He may not understand it, but you can see the effects of it.
Yeah.
And again, people are sick and tired of it.
That means you're doing something right when they come targeting you. By the way, the current Democrat governor, Jared Polis, a gay man married to a man.
Yep.
So that's what Colorado is dealing with right now. And I think it's too great of a state, Victor, to just let fail. And just, like you said, people are kind of heading for the floodgates and leaving the state. But it can be saved, no doubt. And you talked about children. We talked about saving Colorado. You've saved lives, young kids, in your work, in your ministry. Talk a bit about that, Victor, how you've been overseas, Southeast Asia, Iraq, everywhere really around the world, saving thousands upon thousands of kids from trafficking, horrible situations. Talk about your heart there and how it prepared you for this run.
Yeah. Well, everything I do is based on a moral code, my faith, how I see life. You know, what I don't like is a lack of leadership. That is what's destroyed Colorado. Yeah. And for me, it's not rocket science to go in there and fix things. It just takes a backbone and, again, a moral code of what is right and what is wrong. Most people in Colorado might not know my story, but my father was a drug dealer and a pimp. And my mother married 6 times. I went to 14 schools, lived in 17 houses. But I was abused as a kid, pretty bad. The professionals said it was torture. I'd been electrocuted and dunked in a tub and just a bunch of dark stuff. Yeah. And I don't really like to talk about it, but I say enough so people understand the context by which I make my decisions as a leader. Yeah. And I know this, the enemy of our soul, force of darkness, can throw the worst at you. God can and will redeem it. And it's not God that causes this stuff. He'll redeem it, but it's a choice of men that make bad choices. Yeah. So I started helping kids in the U.S. years ago, kids who were incarcerated, who were locked up because most of them come from troubled backgrounds. And through that, we started tracking the, sex trafficking issues with kids. And our organization grew to where today we founded and ran, it's an incredible task force called Protecting Children's Innocence Task Force. We work by, through, and with law enforcement. So we're not out there cowboying it. We're out to make sure pedophiles and people who abuse children are caught and convicted and will spend time in prison. Yeah. And in some states, I hope, I know I will, as governor, will adopt capital punishment for any adult that rapes a child.
You and I were talking off camera about Erica Kirk a little bit.
Yeah.
And her story of forgiveness, forgiving Charlie's assassin. I think it really shook the world to see that.
It did.
To see Jesus, really the face of Jesus in that moment. You ultimately forgave not only your stepfather who abused you, but your biological father. Yeah. And your biological father helped lead you to the Lord, right?
He did.
It's an amazing story. Tell us more about that.
Well, the key thing I want people to take away from this is, what is forgiveness? True forgiveness is giving up your right to hurt someone back for hurting you. And there are a lot of people where they shouldn't be forgiven because it's just horrific injustice, especially when you're a kid. But if a person doesn't forgive, Eric, I'll tell you what happens. A part of your heart starts to get hardened. And if that starts to get hard, you cannot receive love that you need, your soul needs, but then you can't give the love that other people around you need. I recognized that pretty early on, and it was through God's scriptures and the power of God's Spirit that said, you got to give up your right. And I came to face with my abuser as a man who was married, me, you know, in my 30s.
A tough guy.
Oh, man, done the deal.
By the way, I mean, the world's fastest disarmer, would we say? To
Yeah,
disarm
gun
someone as a
disarm.
gun?
Yeah.
Gun disarmer.
Still hold the record.
The world's fastest.
Yeah, but I think my son, who's 20, I think he's going to pass me at 21. But seeing my stepfather in a bed, dying, and realizing, man, I have the power to push him there faster or show God's grace. All I did was say, God, help me to forgive him. Give me the strength. I'm willing. God did. And through that, he ended up giving his life to Christ.
Tell us more about that. That's an amazing story.
Well, my wife and I got out of bed. We were praying for him. And I was weeping for him. God so turned my heart that I didn't want him to die and go to hell. I believe there's a literal hell. Yeah. The people who reject Christ and live a life contrary to, will face an eternity apart from God. And I went in that morning. He was there, and I said, I greeted him, and he said, hey, nurse, this is my son.
Wow.
And I kind of was like, because I actually thought he was my biological dad.
You did?
Yeah. For part of my childhood, I was never told that he wasn't the real one. And he said, he's been worried about my eternity, but didn't have to worry anymore. I made it right with God last night. And I'll tell you, it was a very, very sacred moment. I could sense God's Spirit in. And that's when he gave his life to Christ. And I remember saying, well, God, I know why you brought me into his life for this little season. Yeah. And it's to show your love, which I don't have in myself, period. But God could love him through me. And I said, well, what do you want me to tell him? What's the last thing you want me to tell this man? And very clear, I could sense God saying, tell him you love him. Just tell him you love him. And I did. I said, Dad, I love you. And he looked at me for the first time ever in my life. He said, boy, I love you too. Wow. I think that was his way of saying, I'm so sorry for everything I put you through.
Wow. And your biological dad, you carried some bitterness against him as well. You
Sure.
felt abandoned by him.
Yeah.
And then he re-enters your life and helps bring you to the Lord. And you guys ended up the best of friends, right?
Oh, my
Very
gosh.
close.
He ended up becoming my best man at my wedding.
Wow.
And, but there was a lot of anger at him because I always would think, where were you? If you would have been the dad that would have been in my life to provide and protect, not leave, if you and my mom would have made it, and I mean, I was conceived under horrible conditions of him pushing rosary beads down her throat, putting a pistol to her head, threatening to kill her. What I'm so thankful to my mom for is having me. She could have aborted me. Yeah. And I don't think many people would have blamed her. But I'll tell you, that's why I'm in the favor of life. Because had she killed me, or terminated that pregnancy even earlier, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had, my wife and I, we've helped over 45,000 women and children in the Middle East with trauma care, and then tens of thousands in the U.S. through our social media and our online courses and books. We just want to help people who've struggled and haven't got a fair shot in life. And that's why I'm not against the Democrats in Colorado. I think a lot of independents are going to vote for me because they actually know my heart now. Yeah. They know I'm not in there trying to take away freedoms, but give them freedoms back. And I will say extremists, and progressive leftists that want to influence our children in negative ways, that's when I put down my foot. I mean, they just, folks that want to hurt kids don't want to see that other side of me. Because I'm resolute with the titanium spine. Amen. And I will protect children. Amen. And women.
Talk about the trafficking problem, Victor. Look, not only around the world, the severity of it. I think the movie Sound of Freedom a few years ago kind of brought into people's consciousness. Talk about that problem globally, and yes, right here in America.
Yeah.
We've got a trafficking problem.
I never forget when Tim Ballard, who the movie was about, texted me and said, will you and your wife mentor me and my wife. He says, because you've been at this a lot longer than me. I was like, Tim, of course, end up praying for him. Spend time praying. People still need to pray for him. Anybody that's in the space of trying to protect children, I would say this, make sure you do it with integrity. Whether it's an individual or an organization, do it with integrity. And because there are a lot of people not doing it right out there. And they're actually exploiting children who are being exploited. So I take a pretty strong stand against that. But our task force, again, protecting children's innocence, the biggest threat to America outside of men not being dads and fathers and good husbands is the internet to children. People know it as child pornography, but it's really child sexual abuse material. It's beyond, Eric, this is, if anybody can remember this is the tsunami that's hitting America. More is consumed right here than anywhere else. And a ton of it's produced here in the U.S. So on average, 290,000 images or videos are transferred in the U.S. every day.
Every day?
Every day. Remember this, that those videos and photos of kids being abused it's some of the greatest currency in the world right now.
Hey, tell us about the book, The Dangerous Gentleman. You see it right here?
I am surprised on how well it's done. It's a bestseller, and it's basically just me sharing stories of what God's done in my life. And again, none of it I look for, it happens. And then people I respect and have worked with that have done amazing things. Men need to be encouraged. It's a tough world. Men don't get a lot of attaboys. We're expected to do the deal, which we are. There's no choice. Men provide, protect, love, and I tell them, stay faithful to one. But young men need examples of older lions too. And I've seen that. The older I get, I realize there's a responsibility to pass it on. I would have never written a book like this in my 20s, 30s, even 40s. But my last birthday, I was 60. And I said, yeah, here we go. And believe me, my bride, she actually still has a six-pack. We stay mission ready. We do the deal. And I think that's part of the responsibility of men. Don't get lazy out there. Get the motivation you need. But motivation only lasts for a short time. Being inspired, that'll last a lifetime.
Amen. And Victor, you're representing biblical masculinity.
Yes.
Imagine that. It's much needed. Talk about biblical manhood. Last question. Do you see this revival growing among young men and young men in Colorado, places like Colorado, who are fed up with the madness, with the left-wing madness, the trans madness, all the nonsense? Do you get the sense we're at a tipping point where especially young men are saying enough is enough?
I do, 100%. And I do believe it started with Charlie. One of the beats of his heart were for young men to be men. And that's why he wrote the foreword for the book.
Yeah.
And, to be a man, you got to resist passivity, accept responsibility. You can embrace a level of suffering, but that's what men do. Yeah. And men need to be the husbands for the wives that their wives need to be the dads that their kids need. And if you're single, you should just be preparing for that day when you put a ring on a young lady's finger and to be faithful. And I believe with all my heart, the pendulum has swung. Just like you said, people are sick of what's going on. Common sense is coming back, and we're going to bring it back to the state of Colorado. We're going to flip that state and watch what it does for the nation. And I would encourage young men, hey, you need a mentor? I'll mentor you, just like I did Charlie, which made him risk everything every day. If he wasn't the epitome of a dangerous gentleman and his sweet bride, dangerous woman to continue to push, but I have what's called the Dangerous Gentleman Society, dangerousgentlemensociety.com. I send out an email every day. I call it a mission brief. It's free. Then go sign up for it as soon as they watch this.
Victor, you are a man of action. You're a mighty man of God. We'll be following the race very closely over the next year, my friend. Good luck. God bless, Victor. We appreciate it.
I appreciate
it, Victor. Appreciate it. Thank you. Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.